Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this very special episode of BiblioTech On Air. I'm Rosanna, and today we'll be having a different set of hosts with us, conducting interviews from attendees and panelists for the event Ready Set College at BiblioTech EDU.
Hi, my name is Santiago Uribe, and I go to John Paul Stevens High School in the Northside District. This is my second year in the Student Advisory Council for BiblioTech.
Hi, I'm Calvin Cruz. I go to CASMed, and this is my first year at BiblioTech Student Advisory Council.
Alrighty, Santiago and Calvin will now get started with their interviews. First up is their interview with Michelle, who works for BiblioTech's outreach team.
Thank you for joining us. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Michelle. I'm 32. Yeah. I'm 32. I work in outreach for BiblioTech. So I do outreach, going to communities and basically serving that community. And then marketing, so design, swags. And then I went to school at several different schools. But I graduated at Texas State with a bachelor's degree in history and sociology.
So we have 3 questions for you.
Okay.
Our first question is, what do you think is the biggest lesson college has taught you so far, both academically and personally?
So personally, it would be socializing. I came from a private school background, so the people that I was used to was quite similar to my background. Socioeconomics, parents-wise, like they had both parents, for an example, or they just had parents. We were just very sheltered, and the majority of the students were Hispanic. And then when I went into college, I realized that no longer applied to my educational social life. There were people who were extremely wealthy that I had met and became friends with, others who were not, who had no parents, who had one parent, or their guardian was like their sister or something, growing up. So it definitely taught me the realities of the world, introduced me into what to expect once I graduated. So that prepped me. Academically, what college taught me, it taught me a lot of how society and our culture works. And I still use it now, like when I watch the news and things that affect me, like who I'm voting for, or how I approach things too. It was more like that. And it's also even allowed me, because I had to do a lot of lectures, it also allowed me to appropriately converse with people of different backgrounds. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, be empathetic.
Yeah.
And how was that transition for you?
It was quite easy. I realized that I was pretty good with sociology, and in fact, I picked it up as my minor. But it sort of set the stage for what was to come, like future, like junior, senior year, things like that. But it was an easy transition, and it was fun too. I realized too that I was an extrovert. I always thought I was an introvert, and I was like, oh no, I'm just really nosy with people. Like, I just like to ask questions. So
Yeah. Okay, so our second question is, how do you balance the pressure to succeed academically with, your mental health and your social well-being?
That it's mainly so I went to school at Providence High School, and it was constant, like, writing papers, just very academic, and like college prep. It was a college preparatory, basically. So I knew the amount. I just didn't know how to balance my full-time work schedule and full-time school. So that was mainly it. And it was just sort of like, well, you kind of have no choice. Like, you either do the homework or you don't, and then you fail. And then you don't get your money back.
Yeah.
So it was more like, you just got to do it. Like, you can't really complain. Yeah, you can talk to your friends, for advice and stuff like that. But it was like, just get it done. Because you get it done, you graduate, you're done, and then you can decide what you want.
Mm-hmm. If there's like one thing you could change about the college life, not just like for yourself, but for other students? What would you change?
This is more political, sorry. But I wish we had like just free college, because there's so many people that would love to go back to school but just cannot afford it. Me, for an example, like I would love to get 2 masters and eventually a PhD, but sometimes with the masters you got to pay for it. Sometimes you'll have sponsors, like, so I wish that getting an education was a right and not a privilege, because I feel there's a lot of people out there that would just love to do it but just cannot do it. And I like I said, I'm one of them.
Well, that's all the questions we had for you today. We'll bring out someone else right now. Thank you so much, though.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Next up, Santiago and Calvin interviewed Jonathan, Technical Center Assistant at BiblioTech East.
Hello, thank you for being here. And can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jonathan. I go to Texas A&M University San Antonio, and I'm working on a history degree with a teacher cert.
Nice. We just have a series of 3 questions. So for the first question, it would be, what do you think is the biggest lesson college has taught you so far, both academically and personally?
I think the thing that I've learned the most is the importance of hard work. I coasted a lot throughout high school. I kind of relied on my brains a lot until I got to college, and I was like, oh man, like this isn't enough. Like you kind of have to actually, put your head down and work. That's for me academically. I think personally is the importance of perseverance. I mean, life is hard. College is hard. Doing both at the same time is twice as hard. So, just sometimes you got to get down in the dirt and, get to work, and it's hard, but at the end of the day, it's worth it.
Yeah, hard work beats talent.
Yeah, when talent doesn't work hard, exactly.
So for our second question is, how do you balance the pressure to succeed academically with the need to take care of your mental and social well-being?
Oh man, that's something I struggled with very, very much in my first couple of years of college. Honestly, it took prioritization. Like I had to make sacrifices. I mean, college and life in general is all about sacrifices. I had to cut some stuff out, of my life, some parts of my daily routine. Had to cut down on how many classes I was taking, how much I was working. There was a part in my junior and senior years of college where I was a full-time student and a full-time worker, and it was probably the worst decision I ever made. It was really hard, and I cut back on school. The job that I have now is part-time as well, so I'm able to balance my life, my personal life, academics, and yeah, I mean it's a really good balance for me. I know some people that take like 6 classes in a semester, and I mean, God bless them. If they can do it, they did it. But for me, it was just took understanding, what are my limits. Don't go past those limits at all, because it's definitely hard. You definitely suffer for it.
Yeah, especially like with that transition from having, your high school schedule to seeing how many classes you could take in college. The difficulty is like very different, and it also like changes on how much you can handle per day. And especially like after high school, you're working more, and you need to balance both. So you kind of just got to figure it out, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it takes a lot of balancing. Again, it's baptism by fire. You just got to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and cut out what doesn't.
Mm-hmm. And third question is, if you could change one thing about the college experience to make it more beneficial for students, what would it be?
I think giving students more ability to choose what they want to do and really understand like what it is they want before they get started. I think like for me, I had to learn what I wanted in the middle of my junior year. So kind of figuring out like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And then I changed my major twice. I started off early childhood, bilingual generalist, EC through 6. Kind of figured out it's not really what I want to do. Switched to English with the teacher cert. Did not like that at all. And then when I finally switched to the degree I'm in now, I was like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I belong. And I've excelled like ever since. Like on my other 2 degree paths, I was barely passing, even failing some classes. Part of it might have been the workload of being full-time and full-time, but once I figured out this is what I want to do, and I think students don't always have that chance. They kind of jump into it, and they're in their senior year and they're like, oh crap, like I've just wasted the last 4 years of my life. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't think I'm gonna get a good job out of this. So kind of giving students the opportunities to figure out, like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this my career? Is this, how I'm going to pay my bills and, live the rest of my adult life? Giving students the opportunity to find out what they want to do, I think it would change a lot of people's lives, honestly.
Thank you for giving that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, of course. It's cool to be with you guys.
Next up, Santiago and Audrey interview Juan, who works as a college success advisor at Cafe College.
Thank you for coming here for this little interview that we're doing. So would you mind explaining who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. Thank you guys for having me here today. Never done a podcast before, so this is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Juan Galindo. I graduated from Texas State University in 2017. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I currently work for Cafe College as a college success advisor.
What would you say your job entails? Like, how would you describe it?
So my job entails helping students out figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives. That could be going to school. They could be high school students, or they could be adult learners. For our adult learners, they could have a career change and they just want to go back to school for something else. For our high school students, we go over all the plans, the plan that they need in order to get to where they want to in a specific career field.
Is there any personal connection that you had going into this career, or is this just a passion that you have to educate students preparing for college?
Yes. So in high school, I went through this program called Upward Bound. They helped with anything that had to do with college access. They took us on field trips to colleges here in Texas. They helped us out with ACT prep, SAT, essays, filling out scholarships and our financial aid, and our applications to the schools. So with that, it was new to me. It was a new world to me. I never had, I'm the first in my family to go to college. So I never had someone to guide me. And these people guide me there. And I ended up working with them after I graduated high school, and then just continuing in this field of helping students out who have no clue what to do, how to get into college, the process, and the steps that you need to take in order to go to college. It can be scary for anyone. And yeah, that just ignited it just ignited something in me to go into this field and help students out.
Okay. So we have 3 questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. First off, what resources or support systems does the college offer that students tend to overlook but could benefit from?
Are you talking about the resources that we offer?
Yeah.
So they can benefit from learning about other resources that we offer there too. We partner with organizations such as Ready to Work. We also partner with the colleges in San Antonio. We also partner with families that need help with daycare, finding daycare for adult learners. They can learn about a bunch of mental health resources that we have. We also have connections with Veterans Affairs offices. So if they're looking into that, we do help them. Other resources, we do offer scholarships at Cafe College. We have a bunch of databases that they can go through, and we also help them with the application process for that. We also offer our own Cafe College scholarship. This is going to be through 42. We are partnered with 42 high schools here in the San Antonio area. So if they're partnered with that school, they can qualify for a scholarship from us.
How do you get granted the scholarship? Like with those schools, is it just by attending, or is it by like, do you have to fill out like an application for it?
Yes, of course. So there is an application. So what we have is we have advisors that go out to these high schools and they do presentations with them. Presentations/workshops. So the requirement is for them to do the application first, and they have to attend 2 of these workshops. These workshops can be on time management, how to choose the right major, how to choose the right career field for you, how to choose the right school, also financial literacy stuff. Once they're done with that, they need to submit their FAFSA. And after they submit their FAFSA, they need to do a session where they explain how the scholarship is given to them, how can they renew it, the requirements to keeping up with that scholarship.
How do you ensure that all parts of the students are prepared, including those soft skills such as like communication and self-care as they enter college and a career in the future?
Yeah, so with our workshops, we have everything that covers like how to best communicate with your professors, your peers. We also have workshops for test prepping if you have test anxiety. With that, we do offer mental health resources. We have partnership with the therapy. The therapies that they offer at the community colleges and the universities. So we have business cards. They can talk to them. We also offer a workshop that is on mental health, on how to take breaks, on just going outside, going out for a walk, listening to music, having that support system that's with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And our last question is, what advice would you give students who are struggling, like balancing their academic workload and their extracurricular activities and part-time jobs?
Write everything down. Use a calendar. I know when I was younger or in high school and college, I would just keep everything in my head. I was like, oh, I can remember everything. But now as a 29-year-old, it does not work that way. I have to write everything down, set timers, set alarms, set yourself some time to have a moment to yourself or a day to yourself. I know it could be a lot to handle, but you have to take care of yourself first. You have to eat right. You have to sleep right. Make sure you're studying, keeping up with your assignments. Also making sure you're having fun with your friends, whether that be going to the movies or just going out to go get coffee.
Okay, well, I think that sums up all our questions, but thank you again for taking the time to sit down and interview with us. We really appreciate it. So thank you again.
Yes, of course. This was exciting.
Next, Santiago and Calvin interviewed James, who will be offering free SAT prep courses in partnership with BiblioTech.
All right. Thank you for being here. May you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm James Courtney, and I'm excited to be partnering with BiblioTech to offer free SAT prep courses at several of the different locations, as well as some online courses throughout the 2024-2025 academic school year.
For our first question, what resources or support systems does your college offer that students often overlook or could greatly benefit over?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. In terms of the SAT and standardized testing like that, I think everybody knows that the ACT and the SAT exist, and maybe they wish they wouldn't, but they know that they're there. And beyond that, I feel like there's a lot of, well, first of all, a gap in understanding, and second of all, a lot of misinformation in terms of what they mean, how you should approach them, and how valuable they are to you making sure you have your college options as open as possible, right? So I think the overlooked thing about the SAT, especially that I've seen the most, is that high-performing students take for granted that they're going to be able to do well on the SAT because they do well in school. And then they're frustrated and their parents are frustrated oftentimes when they have a 4.0, but they can't crack a 1200, right? And that's not meant to be a slight on anybody who can't crack a 1200. It's not the same thing. There are some of the academic content standards from school that are definitely covered on the SAT, but the SAT is written to make you miss questions. Your friendly neighborhood English teacher and math teacher don't do that. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just how they write it. There's people at College Board who sit around and dream up the best way to confuse high school students. What a job. So from our side, test takers and those who would help test takers, the big missing piece is starting with strategy, understanding that before you think about what kind of math questions you're missing, or what grammar rules you don't remember, or all of that good stuff, you need to think about how you're approaching the test and train yourself to do it in a systematic way that foregrounds the strategy that you're using. To me, that's the most overlooked thing about the SAT. And if I could say one more thing in that regard, it's this trend of test optional, which I keep hearing a lot about, and you probably know about it. Some schools are test optional. That's really exciting when you first hear it as a student, I'm sure. Optional, okay, that means no. But the problem is that if a school, if they believe that the SAT is an unfair measure of a student's academic ability, then they should refuse it. We will not accept SAT scores from anybody. If they don't believe that, then they need to stop calling it optional. Because what's happening in admissions offices is student A has a 4.0 and no test because the school said it was optional, and student B has a 4.0 and a good test score because they went ahead and did it anyway. And now student B is much more attractive than student A, but student A didn't do anything wrong. They just took the other option. To me, if it's a tiebreaker ever, even once, then it's not optional, right? If you want to put yourself in the best position to go to the college that you really want to go to, be the most competitive you can be, you shouldn't consider the test optional. And then that's not even to mention like scholarship opportunities and all that stuff that can come along with performing well on the test.
Our second question is, how can students build stronger relationships with their professors to assist with these tests? Like how can a student like converse with their professor or teacher that they're struggling with these tests,
Yeah, that's a great question. And having worked inside of high schools, while also outside of high schools teaching SAT prep, I think I had a really good look at this. And it's where I noticed where some of like the issues are, I think. There's a lot of really well-meaning counselors, no offense counselors out there, who are just saying flat wrong things about the SAT sometimes to a group of 500 students. This is not their fault. They're giving what either used to be good advice 20 years ago or what they believe to be good advice. But it's a real problem because there's a lot of misinformation. And so students don't know how seriously to take the test. They don't know how to prep for it. They don't know who to ask about it. There's no like one go-to source except for College Board. Well, that's like asking the enemy how to defeat the enemy, right? And so I think that the best way you can use your teachers, some of whom might know a lot about the SAT, and some of whom maybe don't because that's not their job to know a lot about the SAT, is you can, as a test prepper, one of the things that is most important is identifying the areas of need for yourself. Like once you take your practice test or take the real test and you get your results, you break down exactly the kind of questions that you missed. And you don't worry at first about the questions where you missed one of those type of questions. You find the ones that are costing you the most points. You work on those concepts, right? To me, high school teachers can be really useful in that because there's not a geometry teacher in the world who wouldn't just love it if you came and said, I really need some help with, circle questions. Can you please give me some circle practice work? They'd be like, oh, yes. They get super excited. And if students will just do that, it's sort of there for them. But sometimes teachers don't know exactly how to advise you or help you or give you what you need for the SAT. For one, because it's not their forte, or for two, because they don't know what specifically you need on the test. So I think communicating, using teachers as resources if you want advice, a little bit of tutoring on a particular skill or, practice work or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any more advice over students who are struggling to balance their workload with like their personal life?
It's really hard at every single age. The fact that as a student you're asking that question, I think is great. That means you're thinking about balance, and that's a good start. I think what balance actually means, when you get older, they'll call it work-life balance. It's a interesting phrase, right? To imply that work is outside of life, and then you have life, and you need to kind of think of them as these side-by-side things that don't quite touch each other. Like, turn your work into something that you want to be a part of your life. And I would say the same about anything you're doing in high school or college. Like, set yourself so that the goals you're pursuing each day while you're working on graduating or your major or that big paper that's due Friday or the exam or whatever, always know why you're doing it. And, as you get older, your juniors, seniors, graduating from high school, the why becomes all yours. You might have other people who help motivate you, but unlike when you're a freshman in high school and you study for your math quiz so your parents don't get mad, you got to define why you're doing what you're doing. And that's going to make all the difference in how you balance it and how you set yourself up for whatever you define as success.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your information, and thank you for coming out.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. I did want to say one more thing, is that I will be teaching this class with BiblioTech on location. The first ever SAT class that BiblioTech is offering will be October 19th on location here at BiblioTech EDU. The second one will be in November at BiblioTech East, and we have plans to do 6 throughout the academic year around the city. So you'll be able to find more information on that super soon on the BiblioTech website.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The classes are free, by the way.
On their final interview, Santiago and Calvin interview Laura Cole, Director of BiblioTech.
Would you mind introducing yourself for the podcast?
Yeah, I'm Laura Cole. I'm the director of BiblioTech.
Okay. Do you mind telling us what you majored in and your degree, a little bit about that?
Sure. I graduated a long time ago. My undergraduate degree was in theater arts. I graduated in 1984 from Viterbo College in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Okay. So we have 3 questions.
Sure.
And our first one is, what do you think is the biggest lesson college has taught you so far, both academically and personally?
I think it's the same lesson. I think for me, the point of college, and I will go so far as to say this is true for everybody who seeks a degree, and that is the point of college is to teach you how to learn. You really have to be prepared to learn for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what field you're in. But you have to be able to know how to think analytically. You have to be able to question anything that's put before you, and really how to synthesize all that information to make it meaningful for you. So, you can go through a lot of programs and get some kind of license or certification. But the point of college, the point of a bachelor's degree, whether it's a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, is to really prepare you to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah. How do you think you learned that lesson in college?
Well, I had a liberal arts education, so that's really focused. It's really going to be focused on all different disciplines, right? And when you I think the more you study, the more you can see how things kind of fit together and inform your worldview, inform your picture, and it's kind of a natural progression of understanding for me. And I think that's how I learned that lesson.
Was it like instant or?
No. Oh gosh, no. And I'm still figuring it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still figuring it out. And that's really the joy of learning, is that you just don't stop.
So our second question is, how do you balance the pressure to succeed academically with the need to take care of your mental and social well-being?
I'll tell you what, that's a big challenge, isn't it? Especially for people, I think, that want to strive for excellence. It is very, very hard to know when is enough, when you can be satisfied, and whether it's okay to be ever satisfied. But there is a place where you have to say, you know what, for today, I've done what I can do. I'll start again tomorrow. And I think that's a really important lesson to learn. Again, that's one that I think many people really have to continue to work at all their life. And it's okay to say, you know what, today's over. Let's start again.
Yeah, because like how you're saying, it's hard to just fit in everything into one day, and especially when it's a workload, it's like, in that way, it's good to distribute it
absolutely
at different times.
It's good to want to be the best you can be, and we should all strive for that. But I think it's also good to know, as you say, how to balance that, how to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, if you're not taking care of yourself physically, you can't ever reach those goals that you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm. And I've like heard stories like from people and here and there that definitely, when there's a imbalance, it's really hard, to focus on college or just on yourself, because it throws one or the other off.
It's very easy for students to burn out, and it's really important to have those places and those people that you can rely on to help keep you in check a little bit. Have safe spaces, have people that you can talk to, have people that you can turn to, and have relaxing things that you enjoy doing that can sort of reset you. Have some good hobbies, have some healthy pro-social activities that you like to turn to, just to keep you whole.
Okay. Our last question is, if you could change one thing about the college experience to make it more beneficial for students, what would it be?
One thing that I would change from my experience, or that I would advise students?
I'd say maybe like a little bit of both.
I think it's easy when you're just going to class day after day after day to sort of take that for granted. If certainly in retrospect, looking back on my undergraduate experience, I wish I had had a little bit more maturity to appreciate the fact that this is a rare opportunity, to understand it for what it is, that you have nothing to do but learn and absorb, and what a gift that is, from really smart people teaching you. So I think for me, I wish I would have had the maturity to understand that and really take advantage of it. I'd also think I would probably take advantage of more of the things that I thought that I might not be interested in, because it's a great opportunity to try things and expose yourself to things that you're unfamiliar with. And you might learn a lot about yourself. And college is a great opportunity for that. There's such a breadth of experiences that you can have for learning and for just for all kinds of things. I wish I would have taken more advantage of those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Well, thank you guys. And can I just ask you one quick question, because this is BiblioTech? What are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading. Right now I'm reading the manga series Black Clover.
Cool.
Yeah, because I had watched it on Netflix, right? But it stopped at a certain point, and I was like, damn, I feel like there's a bunch of details that I'm missing. So I'm like reading the whole thing, and And that's what I'm reading right now.
Cool. How about you, Calvin?
For me, it's I'm also reading a manga. It's called Berserk, and I stopped reading it a while ago. I'm trying to pick it up again. Well, I stopped reading it because the author died, and he stopped producing like chapters. But his best friend picked it up for him,
Nice.
since he knows like how it ends and like the details and stuff. But it's like really slow still.
Cool. Okay, guys. Thanks very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for tuning into that episode of BiblioTech On Air. Once again, our special hosts for this episode were Calvin, Santiago, and Audrey of the Student Advisory Council here for BiblioTech. Make sure y'all catch us on the next episode. Bye.